So here I am with version 4 of the, well, kind of version 4 of the game's release. Version 0.31 to be precise. Uh, Honestly, not too much has happened. I did fix a lot of the terrain issues from down here in the game. Uh, People got different dialogues. I think Clyde did. Welcome to Aho. Now that the wax cylinders have been played for a bit, a lot of people in town are looking for new music. Other than Gwyn, I may have an idea about another musician. I'm gonna look into that. If I can find a few good songs that I'm definitely gonna use, I'll put it in the background here. Probably just a repeat of Gwyn until the next update. But I'm pretty excited. One of my favorite musicians to listen to just on YouTube basically gave free range to use songs as long as you didn't use too many, if you also credited them in a game. I am more than happy to do that because, my goodness, I listen to this person just regularly. Good stuff, good stuff. Aside from that, I did make it so that party members would only spawn these 5 little buttons if you had that many number of Apacies. Only myriad. And for those who are just watching the videos, there you go. I'm sorry about this last time. And also it cuts off a little bit. Focus is 2, speed is 8 at the bottom. I believe the saturation was in 0.3, but so that you can move around a little bit, I might desaturate this as well. Might round out the corners. I don't know. This is supposed to be more of a wanted poster, so I might leave it be. Nothing really is happening in the cave. I don't believe this was a thing earlier, but I got it so that Apacies will blink out correctly. That took a while. I had to rewrite a lot of my code. I'm not sure if I'll keep this white text. I'll probably go back to black, but I don't know. Something needs to change here. Maybe just a font change and turn it back to black, but I'll work it out. Fighting still works as usual. I didn't update any of the levels because I'm still wanting people to explore. There are a few new Apacies, like Vicicle here, who will be getting a redesign. A rough redesign, because I do really like how it looks. Except my drawing of it isn't great. I'm going to walk around just a little bit more to see if any new Apacies would spawn. No, another Vicicle. There, that was the spawning. So whenever you faint in a battle, you have no usable Apacies. You will spawn back at the latest health point. Because I hadn't healed up at all, it spawned me at spawn. There we go. Spawns back. Gives you the whole spiel like Pokemon does. And will heal back to full. For anybody who wants to know the code, reads whenever you heal. Puts that position that your character's in layaway until that is called later, whenever you faint in a battle. And it'll return you to that exact position. So if I fainted again, I'd spawn right here. Now I would spawn on the left side of the well. So that automatically does the Pokemon Poke Center thing with a lot more variation than I would have thought. A lot more than it needs, but I kind of like it, so it works. So that's basically it for the visual aspects of the game. I made notes on what I did in the background, which would be I implemented critical hits. Let's get the camera all nice and shadowy. So whenever there's a small chance, 1 in 20, because D&D, to do extra damage whenever you're doing a damaging move. When you're doing status, it really doesn't do that, but I'll try and figure something out there. That'll be really tricky. Maybe I'll have like a special status condition. That would be cool. I'm actually gonna
write that down.
Something that can only be accessed if you're really lucky on any status hits. Weather effects. Now, weather is a thing now, but there is no visual aspect. You can't tell that weather's going on at all. So these little squares here, If you haven't played the Battler, this is where status effects goes. I believe it starts with paralysis, then it does something like burn, poison, sleep, freeze. But they each have their own spaces. For the longest time, they weren't connected, so nothing would spawn if your creature was hit with those afflictions. Now it'll at least display for you. Limit for party members. There is a limit of 5 now. In point 3, there was no limit. You could have a party of 16 Apacies. There would be no use, because it doesn't default to the next Apacies if yours is out. I will work on that for version 0.4. That'll be a thing. I did create a few items, none of which are in the game at the moment. I will be making a market later on, but to give you a little bit of a hint, instead of potions, I'm just going to simply use water, because of how important it is in the desert. I believe it's Hyper Potion. Hyper Potion does 200 health, or max. Percopear's water is going to be doing that. If you remember Percopear, I might have taken it out of the spawn rotation. It used to spawn down here, little cactus with bulbs of water. It creates such pure water that it heals any creature that consumes it. And then daily or scene moves. Now you really won't be seeing a lot of these early levels, but later on, when your Apacies have daily or scene moves, they have charges that they can spend, either in one combat or every time intermittently between healing. They have a set number that they can use. If they run out, the moves automatically disappear. Eventually, daily and every other turn moves will disappear right after you use them and then come back. That part has not been implemented. But the scene and daily moves, whenever you've used up all the hidden points, I might get to a point where I show them to people. Might not. Probably will. That'll come later. Those will disappear. And aside from that, I added something like 9 Apacies into this version. So a lot of it came with more creatures. Because this update was very, very limited in what I could actually show you, I thought I would give you a peek behind the scenes into how I organize an Apacies into what they can do and how to structure specific things, as well as showing you the Apolog entry for Myriad. This is specifically the Myriad sheet in my huge document for basically every Apacies. I have levels for when they move specific moves, and then a Pokemon equivalent to the move, so I can better understand what's happening. And capabilities and abilities haven't really been introduced yet, so I'm going to gloss over them. But they're going to work a lot like Pokemon Tabletop United, which is kind of similar to Pokemon. When it comes to basic stats, all of them are there. This number has been fluctuating a lot with me trying to balance all the Apacies. The least powerful Apacies will generally be the first evolution of a 3 evolution stage, most powerful being a 3rd evolution. I'm trying to balance it so that it works similar to Pokemon, with way different stat numbers than Pokemon. This won't get into the hundreds unless you are min-maxing everything here. Aside from that, there will be evolutions. They're hidden right now. And also I'm getting a little lazy not doing that. And types. Just so that I can keep track of that whenever I'm deciding on what moves to give. Skill lists will eventually incorporate in outside combat and a few moves inside combat. But I want each Apacies to really embody what I'm trying to make them go for. So yes, you can mess up the stats all you want, but skills generally won't increase. This is universal for the species. Myriad can run for a good amount of time. It's not supposed to fight, and it's not terribly good at following orders. And it won't really... It can be stealthy, but generally won't. Spawn areas. Eventually, when I have the whole map situated, I'm going to write down where each Apacies spawns so that I can curtail how much I want that Apacies to spawn. General nature's going to be randomized, so I'm debating whether or not to even have this here. If there's any Apacies that I plan on using as central story mechanics for any side quests, main quests, I'm going to have them there. Myriad in particular will have one later on whenever I'm actually working on the story. And then inspiration. Myriad is a horse from the Old West, influenced by Octavia from My Little Pony, at least in color schemes. The purple and gray especially. But I probably will redesign her somehow, just because I don't like this proportion necessarily, and it's very bland. I have a redesign where a Myriad is wearing an old, not really old, but an Apache style saddle, which looks interesting. Longer neck, longer limbs, and a bigger head. I'll see if that works. I'm going to pixelate some stuff, correct this tail, because oh my god, I really don't like the tail. And then stuff like that. And then each one will eventually have a dex entry or a apolog entry. I didn't do this for the longest time. Now I'm trying to do 2 a week just to catch up. But Myriads. A ready and stable companion. These creatures are quick to adapt to most teams as they are loyal to those who show them respect. This loyalty gives them the reputation of taking hits for the team, as their imposing figure refuses to be ignored. Punchable. Punchable should have the effect of having Apacies target Myriad more often. I want that to be an interesting team dynamic, because if you want to have a tanky team, you're going to want the tank to be punchable. And that would be amazing to have a tank that was punchable. Quick to adapt to most teams. This is supposed to be an EV type Apacies. Eventually we'll have 6 different evolutions that should be able to fit in most teams. Myriad itself probably won't. We'll see. I can always tweak things. And then loyalty. Joint Bond and Bond Bash in particular are meant to be used in conjunction with another Apacies. However, Joint Bond doesn't do anything yet, and I'd have to check on Bond Bash itself. But for any of you who are curious, this is how I organize my Apacies. In this style sheet, and all of them have it. I would scroll through this, but you'd get hecka spoilers. I don't want that. I hope that this has been a worthwhile video despite being half an explanation of what's going on behind the scenes and half an actual explanation of the recent update. I'm going to keep it in this order for those who just want the update. They can just stay at the beginning of the video? Beginning of the video. I'm still new at this. I appreciate y'all watching. Hope y'all have a good night.